Yeah, so say your name and then spell it.
Sean Bridgman, Shaunbridgman.
And Channing Hill, CHANNINGHILL.
Yeah.
Okay, so starting off, how did you guys get into the horse industry? Was it kind of something you started to get involved in when you were young, or how did you all start?
Yeah, this is pretty much a game you got to get into young. You start really early. Like I speak for both of us. We started getting on horses fairly early, like most jocks do. Usually we have family or friends that were in the sport prior, and like on myself, I started when I was 11. Started getting on thoroughbreds when I was 11. Started really breezing horses 12, and then by 16 I was had my apprenticeship, which is an amateur jockey, and then by 17 I was a professional.
Yeah, I started much later. I started when I was 16, and when I was 18, after I wasn't able to start riding until I was graduated high school. That was a rule my dad told me. But basically, yeah, I had an uncle that was a jock. My dad is a very big racing fan, and both me and my brothers are jockeys.
Okay. How difficult would you say it is to maintain the perfect body type to ride a horse? Is there some sort of special eating you have to do, or is it just something you're kind of blessed with, I guess?
Some guys are very fortunate, but not a lot of them. It's a very, very disciplined sport because obviously it doesn't go by your height, it's your weight. So you can be as tall as you want as long as you do the right weight requirement. That's what it's. So for me, it takes a very disciplined diet to maintain my weight on
And obviously you can see I'm much taller than Sean. But I mean it's the same as you saying. You got to be very disciplined on what you intake, and you got to be very mindful and careful. And it's something that it's an everyday thing. You step on that scale. I step on the scale probably 3 or 4 times every day just to make sure that I'm on the right path. To be. So my job coming into the track the next day isn't that difficult.
So
Talk a little
being
bit about how fit you have to be to do your job, not just but you have to be extremely fit to do it.
On the fitness level, taking an example, like last year I ended up breaking my ankle in the end of the summer. I came back in probably early December, and I lost all my fitness that I acquired from just a couple years of riding. And it's probably like trying to go out and run when you're not fit enough to go out and run, like go run 10 miles when you're not fit enough to do it. And it's sometimes a lot easier when a horse is actually running and when a horse isn't running, when you actually have some horse, but your fitness level is pretty high, and that's a lot of people don't really appreciate how fit a lot of the riders are. I mean, you just see a lot of their body tones are not much muscle or body fat, and high muscle mass. So.
How difficult would you say the training process is in between the horse racing seasons?
Well, it's a very thin line because you try to be fit and maintain your fitness without trying to gain weight or put too much muscle on, because then you become too heavy. So it's very thin line of what you can do, and because you don't really want to, put on too much muscle because that's heavier also. So it's just a fine line. But like you said, fitness is a very good part of it. Big part of it because you have to, when you out there, split-second decision, and you got to be focused and alert, and pay attention to what's going on also.
So being a jockey, I know is a lot of work, but there's got to be something that keeps you going. So what's your favorite part of the horse racing?
It's winning for sure. I mean, that's
ultimate goal, winning.
Yeah.
It's the most addictive thing we can probably attribute to ourselves, and I mean, all the meals that you can eat, all the long mornings that you work hard for, a lot of the late nights you ride with is all makes up for when you stand in the winner's circle, especially at a place like Keeneland or Saratoga or you right here, you're the best in your game. So I mean, winning here and winning places like that is the ultimate addiction. And probably the majority of all jockeys, that's the reason why they do it.
Okay, so can you kind of explain to us the like purse, how it's divided up for the jockeys, and how you all feel about that?
Well, every purse is varied, but the breakdown is the winner gets 60% of the purse, to which the jock gets 10% of that. And if you finish second, you get 5, and third if you finish third, you get like 5% of what, and then thereafter you just get a mouthful after you finish. Which every track's varies. You can get from $100 to $75, so every round. And out of that, you have a ballot to pay. You have to pay your agent.
So how do you all make a living out of that?
That's why it's very important to win, because obviously when you win, you get majority, a lot more money, and that's the ultimate goal.
In your opinion, do you think that the distribution is equal?
I think so. I mean, you also got to remember that the owners and trainers, invest a lot of money for our game to be going, and it's not like we make pretty good money, especially for, speak for a lot of us, don't have a, high education, but I mean, it's a game that you can either be doing really well, or you can be doing really bad. I mean, because $75 mount fee doesn't go a long way, for your bills, I mean, if you're not doing well. I mean, there's always really extraordinary circumstances with any athletes. It's just like, you want to say basketball or football, you get your low guy on the pay scale, obviously he's not making as much as Brady is, I mean, it's the same kind of context, but I mean, if you're doing well, you're making a lot of money, but if you're doing bad, it can be a real struggle.
How hectic are race days when you have to ride different horses and things like that?
Well, we're so conditioned to do our job. Like today I drove in from Chicago. I was in New York last week. So it's just, you get so used to it after a while. It's just like anything else. I'm sure your first day of class is a little hectic, but when you get settled in and used to it, it's just part of your day.
Is Keeneland one of your favorite places to race, or do you have like a particular track?
Keeneland's got to be one of the favorites. Keeneland and Saratoga have to be. I mean, you're talking about your ultimate racing venue, and it's very prideful to be here and be able to run. Because you're at least doing something right at some stage,
Yeah, because like all of the sport, they have lesser racetracks that you can ride. Keeneland and Saratoga happen to be one of the better ones.
Well, thank you guys so much for answering some questions for us. Really quickly, before we finish this, just kind of both of y'all give us one of your favorite moments from being a jockey, or one of your most hilarious moments, either one, whichever one you can think of.
Probably winning 6 races in one day is probably my highlight.
Wow.
Probably the greatest day since I've become a jockey was my dad win the Black Eyed Susan in '75, and I win it in 2008. And that was a great day, having my father there at Pimlico and winning such a big race that he also won. That was probably my greatest day.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you guys so much.